Tickles, sold at food markets only.
Introducing the new Tressie.
A doll that kisses. It's Kissy by Ideal.
Have you heard what's happened? Barbie's changed. Barbie's new and different.
Hello doll fans and welcome back to Beauty Inside a Box. Today I am continuing my series of videos which I'm calling Dolls of the Decade. Today we are talking about all the famous dolls from the 1960s. So sit back and enjoy all the groovy, far out of sight dolls of the 1960s. Dig it? Can you tell I googled slang words from the 1960s before making this video? What does slug bug mean? If you want to watch the other videos in this series, I will put a link in the description to the Dolls of the Decade playlist, and also a link on the screen somewhere. And if you enjoy dolls as much as I do, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check me out on Instagram and TikTok. But anyway, let's talk about some of the groovy dolls from the 60s. The first doll we had to talk about from the 60s, of course, had to be bling! Barbie. Ah, isn't she beautiful? Now, Barbie was released in 1959, so right at the very end of the 50s, but the 60s really were her decade. This was when she grew in popularity and became the cultural icon which she still is today. Jacqueline Kennedy breezed into the White House in 1961. The First Lady personified effortless sophistication and, of course, was a massive style icon at the time, encouraging loads of people to copy her iconic hair and looks at the time, and Barbie was no different. Barbie drew inspiration from Jackie Kennedy by wearing elegant evening dresses, unembellished semi-fitted jackets, A-line dresses, and bouffant hairstyles. Here you can see some of the classic Barbies from the time. These are some of the different outfits. I love these dolls. They're so elegant, so beautiful, so beautifully made. And all the fashion packs had names like Evening Splendor and Fashion Luncheon and stuff like that. It was so glamorous and fun and sophisticated, and I love these dolls. Barbie introduced a new bouffant bob hairstyle in 1961, which ran until 1967. And they also remade the classic ponytail and swimsuit doll, but this time like slightly different in a red swimsuit, from 1964 to 1967. These 60s remakes are therefore quite rare because they only ran for a couple of years, whereas the bouffant hairstyle is quite easy to find, although you will still be paying quite a lot for one of the original dolls. Here are some other iconic Barbie dolls from the 1960s. First of all, we have American Girl Barbie from 1965. She was the first Barbie doll to have a bend in the knees. And can I just say, I absolutely love those rubbery, bendable plastic legs that Barbie used to have. I wish they still made Barbie dolls with those kind of legs. We also had Twist and Turn Barbie from 1967, which had a really simple like twist in the waist, which when you turned her kind of looked like she was dancing.
Best of all, the biggest news of all is the way Barbie moves. The new Barbie twists. The new Barbie turns. Wouldn't you like the new Barbie?
I think Twist and Turn Barbie was a real reflection of the like 60s music scene at the time. In this book here, I have a picture of the original patent for the Twist and Turn body sculpt. Also, we have Color Magic Barbie from 1966. She had hair which you could dye. It would change color.
This is new Color Magic Barbie. Her hair actually changes color. And so does her swimsuit. Just like magic.
And then last but not least, we have Fashion Queen Barbie from 1963 that has different wigs, and you could swap out her wigs.
She comes with 3 beautiful wigs. Now you can change her hair color and style as easily as you can change her costume. The wigs are in the latest styles: bubble on bubble, flip, and page boy in lots of different colors.
Which is a really fun gimmick, and a gimmick which gets used quite often today with different doll brands. I mean, the original Color Reveal Barbies had removable wigs, so like Barbie still even uses this gimmick today. Barbie also started to branch out into different careers during the 1960s. She was a nurse in 1961, she was an astronaut in 1964, and she was a lounge singer in 1961. Mattel also introduced a whole host of friends and family members for Barbie around this time. First of all, we had Ken in 1961.
While the weather was still warm, Barbie and her boyfriend Ken had a picnic. And another weekend, they played tennis in style. And they had a marvelous time at the big football game.
And then we had Midge in 1963. Midge was Barbie's first ever friend. Aw. We had Maud Francie in 1966, who was Barbie's cousin, and Christy, Barbie's first African-American friend, came out in 1968. Barbie also got some siblings who are absolutely adorable. We got Skipper in 1964, and Tootie and Todd in 1966, who are Barbie's twin younger siblings. Todd still appeared a couple times all the way up into the 90s, but Tootie I don't think was ever seen again, like maybe once or twice after this, but then she just disappeared. So, don't know what happened to Tootie, but these dolls were quite cool because they had like rubbery bodies with a wire frame inside, so they were like completely posable. Barbie also got her first dream house in 1963. I made a video where I spoke about every single one of Barbie's dream houses, so if you want to watch or rewatch that video, I'll put a link on the screen and in the description. But this original dream house is so classic. I mean, the interior is like so 60s and I love it. It's made of cardboard. That's the only thing I think is a little bit cheap about this dream house. It's made of cardboard. It definitely wouldn't have lasted long. You know, kids are so rough with their toys, I can't imagine this surviving. Okay, now we're gonna move away from Barbie and start talking about some of the other classic dolls from the 60s. The 60s had a real toy boom. There were more toys made in the 60s than had ever been made in history before. And the second most popular doll on the market in the 60s was actually Chatty Kathy. Chatty Kathy was made from 1959, I spoke about her in my last video, but I thought we'd touch on her again in this video, 1959 until 1965, and she was extremely popular. This was a talking doll. She had one of those pull strings, which Woody has in Toy Story. Chatty Kathy had 18 different phrases, and they also obviously made an African-American version. Chatty Kathy had loads of different clothes and different hairstyles. And in the 1960s, they extended the brand a little bit by making Mattel's Singing Kathy, which would sing a song when you pulled the pull string, and Talking Charming Kathy, who says 120 things, wow, and she was slightly taller and also slightly more grown-up looking. I think she was meant to be like an older sibling sort of vibe. And Mattel also brought out the Tiny Chatty Baby and Tiny Chatty Brother, who were like baby versions of Chatty Kathy. They're kind of cute, in a way. In my last video I spoke a lot about some of these dolls being kind of creepy. In the 60s the dolls are a lot less creepy than they were in the 50s, but there's still a little bit of, still some creepy dolls in this list, I won't lie. I don't think these babies are that creepy. They're fine. Another popular doll in the 1960s, these dolls were actually introduced in 1959. They are the Troll dolls. Now, the Troll dolls are still made today. They've come in and out of fashion throughout history. I think a lot of 90s kids will remember them with like super bright colourful hair and little gems for belly buttons, because they were also really popular in the 90s, but they were originally popular in the 60s. And here you can see some of the 60s trolls. These are weird dolls. It's a weird concept, but I love the kind of fantasy element to them. My mum always talks about how when she was younger she used to like making clothes for her troll dolls. I think that was a popular thing to do with your troll dolls, was like make clothes for them yourself. They kind of remind me of gremlins, but it is what it is. Don't feed them after midnight. Next up we have Kissy from 1961. And this doll, so weird. When you squeezed her, she would like pucker up her lips, like she wanted a kiss.
Get kissy if you want a little kiss. Press her arms like this, you get a little.
Oh, but wait. First, brush her pretty blonde hair.
I guess it's kind of cute in a way. Some of the gimmicks they came up with for these dolls are so ridiculous. But yeah, she's a kissing doll, effectively. Next up we have Little Miss Echo, who was released in 1962. And this was another talking doll. she can say anything you can say. So she basically repeats what you say. The doll you can teach to talk, it says in the box here. She repeats the words and songs in your own voice. So it sounds like she would literally just record your voice and then play it back to you. Kind of like those little cactus toys you see on Instagram and TikTok. Let me know in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. A fun gimmick. I actually think I prefer this gimmick to Chatty Kathy, like the talking doll. Repeating what you say is always really fun, you know? Another popular doll who came out in 1963 was Sindy. Now, Sindy was originally released in the UK. She was really popular in the UK. She was kind of considered like the British equivalent to Barbie. But she had a much more kind of girl next door look about her. Her proportions were a little bit more cartoony. Her fashions were a lot more kind of teenage inspired. I have made multiple videos about Sindy, so again, if you want to check out those videos, I'll put a link to the playlist. Next up, we have, this is an interesting doll, I'm very interested in this one, Poppy. Poppy, who was released in 1963. She was basically a doll which would pop apart, like, so you would basically like pop off her head and pop her torso away from her legs and stuff, and then put pieces of material in between the pieces and then pop her back together. And this way you could create your own fashions. An interesting idea, quite a clever idea. I wish there was something like this on the market today. She had plastic hair, which I think is a shame, but I love the creativity of this doll. It's such a fun, cool idea. Next up we have Tressie, who was made from 1963 to 1972, and I love the look of this doll. I mean, she's very reminiscent of Barbie. I do think she's like a little bit of a Barbie ripoff. The gimmick with this doll is that she had like a piece of hair in the top of her head which you could pull out to make her hair longer and shorter. A fun idea. I mean, I really like this idea. This is a gimmick which would be used again and again and again. I'm sure I remember a doll in the 90s having a similar thing. But yeah, Tressie. Her hair really grows. Also, as part of the Tressie line, there was Mary Makeup, who obviously you could apply makeup to her face. And also Tressie's little sister, Cricket. Cricket. Why is she called Cricket? What kind of a name is that? I mean, some of these dolls have weird names, even Tressie, but I think Cricket might be one of the weirdest. These dolls were introduced in 1964. Okay, the next doll, this is a weird one. This is a creepy one. We have Tickles. Tickles was released in 1963, and she's cute, she's cute, she's cute. But basically, the tagline for this doll is, spank her, she cries, tickle her, she laughs. And I have to say, the commercial for this doll is so awkward and uncomfortable, I absolutely hate it.
Tickle her, she laughs.
Tickle!
But when you spank Tickles, she cries.
Don't cry, Tickle.
Like, I don't understand why they held a shot of all these girls, like, looking disapprovingly at this other girl, like, spanking her baby doll for so long. So uncomfortable. Anyway, I don't know what was going on in the 1960s. I wasn't there. Next up, we have Polly Playpose, who looks very similar to Barbie, except she was, like, fully articulated. This was basically, like, the first ever made-to-move Barbie. She had loads of different articulation, and they also made a Debbie Drake doll. And Debbie Drake was like, I don't know, a TV personality or something from the 1960s. I think she made like workout videos, like Buns of Steel, Barbie Buns of Steel. Next up we have Nancy Nurse from 1963. And this doll was like sick, and you would like nurse it back to health was the idea. She came with a bed, that's quite fun, that's kind of cool, and medicine and stuff like that. It's kind of a shame that the baby has to be like perpetually ill so that the kid can like fulfill a nurturing role. It's kind of giving like Munchausen by proxy or something, like this baby is like constantly ill so you can pretend to be a nurse, but it is what it is. It's still a cute gimmick, I guess. Now, In the 1960s, dolls were not just for little girls, they also made dolls for boys. I'm saying that, but obviously, like, anyone can play with anything. But we also had G.I. Joe, which was released in 1964, and the UK equivalent, which was Action Man. And these were kind of like army soldier dolls. I don't really have anything to say about these. I never really cared for Action Man as a kid. I was more about the pink and the Barbie and the makeup and the dresses. This wasn't for me. It's like way too aggressive, but you know, there you go, there it is. Next up we have Giggles from 1966, and this doll, what's going on with her eyes? She's like going like this. But you know, she's cute, definitely. What does it say on the box? It says, "Who makes little girls giggle? Giggles by Ideal. The happiest doll in the world." That's cute, I guess, or kind of creepy, you know, a doll that's like perpetually happy. But I like her little t-shirt, the colours are really cute. Next up, I had to talk about Licca-chan from 1967. Now, Licca-chan is a Japanese fashion doll. Since the 60s, she basically has been the Japanese equivalent to Barbie. She's really, really popular overseas. She's iconic, trust me, she's iconic. I love her. I have quite a few modern Licca-chan dolls. She's really cute. Again, similar to Sindy, she's got much more of like a girl next door sort of vibe. Her clothes are a lot more youthful and cute. She's beautiful, and the quality of these dolls is always impeccable. Next up, right at the very end of the 60s, in 1969, we got Chrissy. Now, Chrissy was very similar to Tressie, although I think she was slightly taller. She had growing hair that would grow really long all the way down to the ground. I love that. And this doll was produced until 1974. I like her, she's really cute, I love her face. Her pupils are maybe like a little bit too dilated, like you cannot see the whites of her eyes like at all, which kind of makes her look like one of those creatures from Doctor Who. But she's still cute, she's still really pretty, and I love the growing hair gimmick. I think that's really fun. Okay, another really unique doll from the 1960s, we have Flatsy. Flatsy was also released in 1969 and also stopped being produced in 1974. I love these dolls. They're really cute. They had like the little kind of childlike ones, and they also had the taller fashion Flatsies, which will kind of look like teenagers, with slightly more mature looking. They're really cool. These dolls are basically like flat. They're flat. And I think they're kind of meant to be a little bit like a cross between a fashion doll and a paper doll. And they came in these like picture frames, and they had these really cute psychedelic colours and colourful hair and cute little clothes. I think they're cute. Kind of weird. They kind of look like they've been run over by a steamroller. I just wanted to put up on screen some honourable mentions. These are also kind of like Barbie clones. There were so many dolls coming out in the 60s which were basically just rip-offs of Barbie. Like, they were so similar. Some really reputable toy companies were making basically Barbie clones. And here are some of them. As you can see, they look very similar to Barbie. Tammy in the top corner kind of looks like Sindy, I thought. But, you know, Tammy's quite cute. I quite like Tammy. The others, not so much. There were also quite a few character dolls which came out in the 1960s. Here we have the character from Bewitched. We have Twiggy, which was the first kind of, like, celebrity doll, I think, that Mattel ever made. Twiggy is like a famous British supermodel. This is a really cool doll. We also had the DC comic heroines, which were obviously like DC superheroes. And we also had some dolls of Mary Poppins. So, like, Disney was making tie-in dolls all the way back in the 60s. Crazy. So there we have it, doll fans. We have spoken about some of the most popular, iconic dolls from the 1960s. Please let me know in the comments if you liked my list. Let me know which dolls you like the best. Also let me know if I missed out any that you remember from the 60s. Let me know which decade you're most excited for me to make a video about. Obviously the next one is going to be the 70s, which I'm really excited to make. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss that video, and also like this video if you enjoyed it. Also don't forget to check me out on Instagram and TikTok. Also go and watch some more of my videos and have a groovy day, doll fans, and I will see you real soon. Bye!